Just so you know, after Dead Moon, it takes a full 4 weeks before the PC Engine receives another shoot 'em up, so the system is entering a bit of a dry spell for those. I'm not sure what PC Engine owners would do with themselves having to wait that long for another shoot 'em up. Dead Moon is the third game from obscure publisher TSS, their third game overall, their first game that isn't a sports game, their first game for the PC Engine, and also their final game. Funny enough, Dead Moon is probably the game they're best known for, and odds are you've never heard of it before this video. I mean, unless you're a real PC Engine TurboGrafx-16 sicko. So that should tell you how well known they are. Developer Zap comes away from Dead Moon a little bit better. It might be their final PC Engine game, but they managed to make one more game before shutting down permanently. The plot of Dead Moon is given in a lengthy English language introduction, but the gist of it is that a comet enters the solar system. It's heading towards Earth, so people fire missiles at it and deflect it into the moon. Fortunately, it was only a few kilometers across. That's the introduction saying it, not me. A comet a few kilometers across hitting the moon would still be very bad news for the Earth. The bad news in Dead Moon is that the comet was full of invading aliens, and now they're using the moon as a base to attack the Earth. Which of course means it's time to send up one person in a fighter craft to destroy all of the enemy forces. The first thing that you need to know about Dead Moon is how to change your speed. By pressing run to pause the game, you can then hit left and right to adjust the speed of your fighter. Now, one small problem here. In my experience, level 1 is too slow, and the level 2 default speed is right on the edge of being too fast. And then there's 2 more speed levels past that if you really want to go out of control. Attack patterns for individual ships in Dead Moon tend to not be very complicated, and so can be easily dodged without a lot of finesse. But the attack patterns for a stage of enemies tend to be very dense. And so you really will need some fine control to get through the levels. And that brings me straight to my one major problem with Dead Moon. This isn't a very difficult shooter, but it is a cruel one. What I mean is, the way enemy attack patterns are structured as you go through the stages are often designed to push you into certain regions of the screen. They'll have an overwhelming force come at you from the front, forcing you gently backwards. And then Dead Moon spawns enemies right where they pushed you to. Doing this once or twice wouldn't be a big deal, but it seems like it's the designer's favorite trick in shoot-em-ups. It feels like they're constantly going, "Gotcha!" It winds up giving the levels in Dead Moon a kind of bad sense of flow. It's not the kind of thing that shows up well on video, but you feel it when you play. What saves Dead Moon from being an exercise in frustration is that this is one of those shoot-em-ups where you lose some of your abilities when you get hit, rather than just getting destroyed outright. So your ship can have quite a bit of durability depending on how you're playing. Dead Moon is a game that's also very generous with its power-ups, and so if you get destroyed, or if you continue, then it's not impossible to claw your way back up again. Power-ups drop from the little yellow ships, and they can spit out 6 different kinds of capsules. 4 of them are for your primary weapon, and they just have a little colored dot to indicate what they do. And then there are missiles and options. All of these power-ups come in multiple levels, so the first time you collect a missile power-up, they just fire vertically from your ship, and then arc gently back in the opposite direction. But as you collect more missile power-ups, they gain more tracking. The options don't fire, they just protect your ship from incoming bullets. So you get one that floats above, then a second one below, then they orbit your ship, and then they orbit your ship very quickly. The missiles and options can be lost when you're hit by an enemy attack, but collecting another one of those power-ups will still bring them back at the next power level. So if you had level 2 missiles and got hit and lost them, then collecting another missile pack would give you level 3 missiles. As for the weapons, the default is the yellow one, which are just standard bullets. As you power it up, it becomes a spread, and at max level it starts firing behind you. If you're stuck with yellow, it's fine. but for area coverage and concentrated fire, there's better options. The red weapon is probably the most effective one in the game. The ring shots mainly shoot forward, but there's a secondary shot that it picks up at the middle levels that fires backwards. It offers a more dense forward field of fire, and picks up the back coverage earlier. That makes it a good choice to carry you through the game. The green power-up is for the wave shot, and if you can't use red, use green. Powering it up increases the size of the wave, and its rapid fire makes it pretty effective at clearing the way for you. The only downside is no rear coverage. Finally, the blue capsules are for the laser shot, and it fires a beam that gets bigger and bigger as you level up. There's also some splinter beams that come off of it. I found that the very slow rate of fire on the laser makes it the worst choice for a weapon. Even at max level, you don't get enough coverage from it. If you spot a blinking colored capsule, that acts as a bomb that destroys all enemies on the screen. You also have 3 bombs of your own when you start out, and these cause a rather anemic explosion when you press button 1. You get more bombs by continuing to collect the same color capsule as your weapon when you're already at max level. Dead Moon consists of 6 stages, and every stage has mid-bosses and a final boss. The final boss on every stage is some kind of animal skeleton that has a glowing weak point in its ribs. Presumably these guys are the dead of the Dead Moon. Japanese players seem to be fairly positive about Dead Moon. Pretty much everyone I found with something to say about it noted how great the graphics were. And definitely, it is hard to deny that Dead Moon is a great looking game. But my feelings while playing it were that things were a little off. But don't get me wrong, Dead Moon is really far from a bad game. I just feel like it isn't structured especially well. You've got the weirdly cruel stages followed by weirdly easy bosses. The game winds up feeling a bit lopsided. And just because I found Dead Moon to be on the easier side of things, doesn't mean it's a good game for those who are new to shoot-'em-ups. There's aspects to it that are just unfriendly enough for newcomers that I could see someone easily getting frustrated, but a dedicated shooter fan is going to blitz through this one fast. It all adds up to give me the impression that Dead Moon was rushed out the door. Like it's lacking that last little bit of polish that would have given it a proper identity. In the end, I think Dead Moon is decent. It just can't hang out with all of the cooler shooters on the PC Engine.